Hi there and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be showing you the final stage of my DIY pizza oven build. And as you can see, I'm using an arched fire brick to form the internal layer of bricks around the formwork here. These are also going to be laid with a fire cement or a fire mortar, and these are both the bricks and the mortar specifically designed for applications where they're going to be subject to extremely high temperatures such as a pizza oven. So definitely don't use normal mortar and normal bricks for this part of the build because you will have problems in the future. You've got a very high risk of the bricks cracking, the mortar deteriorating. So yeah, definitely use the proper materials for the job. One thing I will say about the mortar is it's a lot more difficult to work with than a standard mortar, and it really does go off quite a lot faster. So I was mixing around enough for about 4 bricks, which I know sounds like a very small amount, but that truly was how fast it went off, and if I did any more I just ended up wasting it, so that tended to be the sweet spot I found. Okay, so you can see after a couple of courses of bricks what this looks like, and you're probably thinking that this is really messy, not very neat at all, and the truth is I'm just not bothered one bit, to be honest, because this is an internal layer of bricks, and the main thing that I wanted to do here was just make sure that all the joints were filled up. It was completely free of any gaps in the mortar joints. I just wanted it to be as strong as possible. Also, the mortar itself is quite expensive, so I didn't want to waste any. So if there was any left, I just made sure that I was shoving it into all those joints, filling up any gaps, and just ensuring that the whole thing was as structurally sound as I could make it. Okay, so onto the top now. Once we get up to these last couple of bricks, we need to start thinking about an opening for the chimney. And as you can see here, I've packed a few bricks out on the front to where they want to be when they're actually bedded in place. And I have a piece of clay drainage pipe here, which I bought off eBay. It's kind of hexagonal in shape, which is really ideal for cutting around the bricks. Obviously, if it was circular, it'd be much more difficult to cut around. But this actually made it quite easy to cut. You can see the marks on the top there. It's just 2 cuts with an angle grinder to get that shape. And you can see here now, I'm going to bring the first one back. And as you'll see, this just slots nicely around that pipe there. Okay, so this actually did take me a little bit longer. I'm making it look a lot better on myself here that I just cut it and came back. I actually went back a couple of times and just recut these and kept sort of chipping away at them just to get them perfect. After I'd figured the first one out, the next 3 were much easier. But, you know, not a terribly difficult job. Just take your time and make sure you get it right, and then there's not going to be any issues with big gaps or anything like that that you need to fill in. Okay, so double check that, make sure it fits exactly how I want it, and then we can start bedding the front 2 bricks in place. Okay, so I'm just going to butter these up and then put them in place. And then what I'm going to do is there's a little bit of mortar left, so I'm just going to line the chimney up, double check that fits how I want it, and then I'm just going to ladle the rest of this all over. And just like I said before, I'm really sort of pushing this down into the gaps, making sure there's no gaps in any of the joints, and just making sure that these are going to be completely solid when it goes off. One thing I will say about this fire mortar as well is it goes off really, really hard. There's no sand in it, so I think that's probably something to do with it, but it goes absolutely rock solid. So it dries fast, but it dries really, really hard. Okay, so I'm onto the back 2 bricks here. I did exactly the same with these, just sat the chimney on top, marked them with a pencil, and then cut them with the angle grinder. And then once I'm happy, I'm just going to check them with the chimney and then bed them in place, and then I'm just going to really butter up the inside edges here, and I can slide the chimney in. Then I'm going to, again, ladle a load of this around the edge, fill all those gaps, make sure there's absolutely no gaps between the brickwork and this clay chimney. And then once this is done, and once I'm happy, I can just fill in the last few bricks towards the back top edge of the oven here. Okay, and I'll show you what that looks like in just a second, once I've just done this top bit here around the chimney. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like when you're done. And, you know, again, not the neatest of jobs, really not bothered at all. These bricks are all going to be completely hidden by the outer skin of bricks. So for me, it was just a case of absolutely filling every gap, making sure every joint was as strong as it could possibly be. The chimney's fully set in, looking pretty good, I think. Yeah, so there we go. Once we've done that, we can move on to the next part of the process, which is going to be adding the insulation. Okay, so the insulation that I'm using here is a ceramic fire blanket. This is a little bit like rock wool. It certainly itches as much as rock wool. So in hindsight, I should have been wearing long sleeves, probably some goggles and a dust mask as well. So if you're going to do a job like this, that's my personal advice to you. You know, do wear a dust mask, do wear some goggles. I mean, I don't think you'd want to get this stuff in your eyes, and my arms were red raw after doing this, really, really itchy. So you might be sweating a little bit more because you've got a long sleeve shirt on, but it's definitely going to be a better alternative to just itching for the next hour, which I was. But, you know, pretty simple to use this stuff. Just cut it with a Stanley knife, lay it over, shove it down the gap between the bricks. Once I've done that back bit, I'm just going to lay this other bit out, cut it with a Stanley knife to length. Then I'm going to line it up with a chimney, so I can just cut that width, and then it's just a case of chopping round the chimney and shoving it right up to the other piece of insulation just so there's no gaps. And that's the goal here really, just make sure there are no gaps, because we want it to be fully insulated all the way around. So we're going to do this all the way around the dome part of it, and then we're also going to add a layer onto the back edge. And if you've watched the previous videos, you'll remember we also had 25mm of ceramic fiberboard underneath the actual oven floor. So this is fully insulated once this is all done, which is going to really help it retain heat once you've got the fire going inside it when you are cooking pizzas and anything else that you want to cook in the wood-fired oven. Okay, so once that's done, I'll just give you a little sort of scan around just to show you what this looks like, and you can see there's no gaps. I've kind of got it all the way around the chimney there, all the back's done, and I'm happy to say that now we can get back on with normal brickwork, which is a lot easier, I have to say, than the fire bricks. The normal mortar, after I'd been using that fire mortar for a while, going back to normal mortar was like a dream come true. This stuff just is so much easier to work with than the fire mortar, which was honestly not a lot of fun at all. So standard bricklaying here, just like I've done all the way through the rest of the build. The first couple of courses of bricks here went on pretty straight, and then after that you've got to start leaning them into the other skin that's arching around. So the way I was doing that was just making the bed slightly thinner on one side, slightly thicker on the other. Then when I got up a couple of courses, I decided to build the back out first, just because then I can use the back edge there to kind of follow around with the other bricks. I just figured it'd be easier to do it this way rather than doing these after. I think that was the right choice as well. And then, as you can see here, I'm going to start arching the bricks around. So I ended up doing around a 10mm mortar bed on the inside edge where the insulation is, and then probably about 20 to 25mm on the outside edge. And that worked out just about right to get me curving nicely around the corner. Also, once I got a few courses up, I kind of stopped using the level for level so much. I just tried to keep the mortar bed consistent, but I used the level to ensure that I had a straight edge. So along that corner edge, along the front, along the top, I wanted them to line through as straight as I possibly could. Okay, so just carried on all the way up, and then once we got to the top, I started on the back edge there, just finished that back edge up, and then just filled in the middle all the way up to the chimney, leaving a little bit of a gap, because once we get up to the chimney, I'm actually going to add another chimney flue over the top of this clay pipe to finish the chimney off. So you'll see what that looks like in a second. Okay, so I'm just going to start adding some cement down into the hole here. Just completely fill this up as much as I can, and then I'm going to slide this chimney flue in that I bought on Amazon. And then it's just a case of just filling all the gaps around it, just get it in place. And then once I'm happy with that, I'm just going to start laying this little sloped mortar bed around the edge. And this is just going to allow any water that comes down to run away from the chimney. And there we go, guys, that's it. That is the finished end product, which I have to say, I'm absolutely delighted with how this turned out. This is the first time I've ever done any bricklaying, and I'm quite astounded that I was able to do this. But I think it just shows that, you know, even if you don't have the experience, if you're prepared to give it a go and kind of learn by your mistakes as you go, you really can sort of do anything like this if you put your mind to it. So yeah, I hope you like this, guys. Keep an eye out for the next video, because in the next video I'm going to do a full time lapse of the entire project, where I'm going to be giving you a full breakdown of prices. I will also be showing you some amazing pieces that are coming out of this pizza oven. So if you want to see that, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to like the video, leave me a comment below, and I will see you in the next one.